Welcome to Caleb's Basketball Pod. For this, I'm going to do a little rundown of all of our games that happened yesterday. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about this new All-Star format. Let's start off with the rundown from the game. Something that was interesting about last night. Long break for the most part. Teams played on Monday. Cup teams played Tuesday. And then no one played on Wednesday, so Thursday was the first day back after a little break, little time off. So a few things noticed was there were some upsets yesterday. You had the Chicago Bulls beating the Celtics. You had the Portland Trailblazers beating the Denver Nuggets. You had Orlando rallying from down 20 and almost beating Oklahoma. You had the Clippers kind of dominating the Mavericks. You had the Wizards get their fourth win of the year. It was against Charlotte, but still, nonetheless, they were still underdogs in that game. And then on the other side of that, you just had the, not upsets, but you had the Knicks dominate the Timberwolves. We'll get to the Timberwolves issues. They have quite a bit. You had the Jazz beat the Pistons, which is also kind of an upset because the Pistons are playing much better ball this year than the Utah Jazz. You also had the Lakers beat the Kings. That was a pretty good game, pretty close. It's not really an upset. The Kings are kind of underperforming. But the game that stood out to me was you had the Memphis Grizzlies win 144-93 over the Golden State Warriors. That's unacceptable. Like, Golden State didn't even compete in that game. That game wasn't close. And it's just like, if like you're saying, like, we're coaching, Steve Kerr's coaching to win, and you have Steph Curry, you don't want to waste his years, that's just unacceptable. It's also first time ever for Golden State that both Draymond and Stephen Curry did not hit a shot. Zero made field goals between those two guys. First time ever. And that's just crazy to think about. And it's not like they're past their prime. Just right now, this team's just not working out. Dennis Schroeder did play last night. 21 minutes, only put up 5 points. That's not going to do much of anything. Andrew Wiggins had 19 points. Besides him, no one else for Golden State knew they played a game last night. None of them showed up. Memphis, John Morant did light work, 9 points in 17 minutes. He didn't even have to play 20 minutes. And it's just like, they were just outplayed, out-hustled, everything. But if you're Golden State, you can have games like this. I need to know, if I'm coaching, if I'm Steve Kerr, I need to know my team is taking a step forward, a positive step, something going towards the future of the team. If you watch that game, you see nothing positive. They took no positive steps for the next game, no positive steps for anything. It was just bad basketball. They deserved to get their butts beat, which they did. And if they want to even compete for, at this point, a top spot or even a top 5 spot, top 6 spot even in the West, something needs change. I also think the rotation needs shorten a little bit. Steph Curry said himself he thinks it gets players out of rhythm. No one was in rhythm last night. I don't even know if it would have mattered if they played more minutes. Everybody was just like so out of sync. But like I said, something has to be fixed here. And they do need another star player. Steph Curry's too late in his career, and there's too much talent in this league for Steph to get this done by himself. But I just believe something has changed. You have to go all in for Jimmy Butler, maybe at this point. Someone, and I don't even know if Jimmy Butler is the guy. In my opinion, I don't think he's the guy that completely moves the needle for Golden State. Maybe he'll get you a 6th seed or higher in the West, but I still don't think he moves the needle. I don't think he makes you a championship contender depending on what you give up, because I think you still need more than just him. I don't think him and Steph Curry and possibly losing Draymond in the Butler trade or Kuminga, one of them in the Butler trade, I still don't think you're a championship threat. So I think they need more depth. I've also heard rumors of for Denver Nuggets being interested in Zach LaVine. And yeah, that's great. You need another star, but you also need a bench. Something I keep harping on with the Denver Nuggets is besides Jokic, like when he's off the floor, the team's not good. The team don't have a bench. You don't have role players to come in off the bench and give you good minutes. They don't have that. So they're lacking a bench. I don't think Zach LaVine fixes their issues. I think you're still minus a bench, and if you give up Michael Porter Jr., you lose a lot of height and a lot of size and athleticness to defend, and especially when you're taking on teams like the Lakers with LeBron James, or the Suns with Kevin Durant, the long, lengthy Oklahoma City Thunder, teams like that. You're losing that length. And then real quick, let's touch on what's wrong with the Timberwolves. Last season, they were a top 5 defensive team. This year, they aren't. Last year, the ball seemed like it moved more freely around the court. The team got better shots in general. Now they don't. The ball doesn't move. The ball sticks in Randall or Anthony Edwards' hands, depending on who's on the floor. And they dribble, shoot, or dribble, pass late in the clock. It's not good offense. I don't even see an offensive game plan besides iso ball and hero ball. And I think they need to make a trade. I think the Wolves need to get rid of Randall or Gobert and change up the offense. I think Randall and Gobert are both offensive liabilities, and Randall's not because he's not a good offensive player. It's because he isos too much, and the ball sticks in his hand, and no one else is getting shots because he's dribbling too much and trying to get his own shots. He's not getting teammates involved. That's not his game. The ball's sticking too much. Everybody's moving, running, shooting threes, and they're a team that iso, shoot. You can't have that if you're trying to compete for a championship. That's not championship ball. Hero ball in this league is not championship ball, and that's what they play. Let's just say, let's go real quick before we talk about the All-Star format, and say tonight we get Milwaukee and Cleveland, and I want to see how Milwaukee looks in their first post-Cup championship game, because they were excited. We're really happy they won. Don't get me wrong, they should be. They made $500,000 a player, $514,000 a player. Okay, great. But you didn't win the NBA championship. The season's still going. That don't mean anything. That don't set you up for anything but just money. You still didn't win a championship. Damian Lillard does not have a championship to his resume. Now he has a cup. Completely different. Doesn't mean the same. How do you play after the celebration, after the we won? Do they come out like a team that's torn the corner and now they're different? Or do they come out slumping because they're still on that high of winning this cup that doesn't mean as much as a championship? So let's see how they look. But I have liked Milwaukee's recent basketball and how they've been playing, but I just want to see that it continues past this cup. Now let's talk about this new All-Star format. So we're doing 2 games, like a tournament feel, 8 players on each team, 4 teams. The general managers, they say, are the inside the NBA crew, I believe. I believe Shaq, Charles, and Kenny. And they draft their team. Candace Parker gets for Rising Stars 8. And then the winners of those games verse in a finals, and each game's to 40 points. I do think it will bring up the competition level. I spoke recently, I even sent a question into JJ Redick that was never answered on the pod, but was similar to that. It was doing it like a street ball game, only instead of 40, I said 50 points. But it was doing it like a street ball format, like a pickup game, because everybody says they want to see you want to see the world's best pickup game. That's why we're doing All-Stars. So I had said something like that to JJ Redick in a question, like last year when the All-Star game was so bad. It was never answered, but I did think about this before. So it's interesting that they're doing this now, and this was, like I said, something I was saying that could possibly help or fix the All-Star thing, is if you actually treat it like a pickup game. But the thing is, that doesn't fix it, because what fixes it is the level. the level of play from the players, and what level of play do we get from the players. If it's the same level, it doesn't matter what format you do, it's never going to change. They don't play this game like they want it. They play this game like they're there just for fun and they're shooting around. And that's how they play it, and nobody wants it. There's no Kobe Bryant, there's no Michael Jordan, there's no Allen Iverson, someone that's going out and trying to win and dominate this All-Star game. So until we see that and the mindset of the current players change, nothing's going to change, and it doesn't matter what format you do. And then the fans voting, sure, it's great that the fans vote, but I guarantee you right now, an All-Star starter for the West, if it's still doing like starters, because I'm not sure because now it's changed up a little bit. But I guarantee you someone that's going to be a top vote getter for the West is going to be Stephen Curry as a guard. And not to say he doesn't deserve it, because he does. But he's on now a lower end team of the Western Conference in Golden State that's been struggling as of late. And one of the top 2 vote getters is not going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is completely dominating, or Luka Doncic, who is completely dominating. Because I bet Steph Curry will have more All-Star votes than one or both of those two. And either way, that's not saying the best of the best. He is one of the best, but your 2 best point guards or guards in the Western Conference right now have to be Shai and Luka. Just from how they're playing, the level they're playing. There's just not guards playing like that in the Western Conference right now. It's them too, then it's everyone else. And I love Steph Curry all time, most definitely one of the greats of all time. But this season, he is not one of the best 2 guards in the Western Conference, but he'll be voted like it. So even the All-Star voting is not great, because fans vote by their favorites. They don't vote by who's actually there and who should actually be a starter. So, I mean, there's that. But we'll see how it goes, and I hope it brings up the competition level, this All-Star game. But like I said, we'll see. Thank you for joining this pod, and I'll see you Monday. Big things coming on the pod. Stay tuned. I love talking basketball, and thank you guys for tuning in and watching. I appreciate you guys.